4.1, proportional reasoning. When we're looking at proportional, that just means a set of two fractions or more fractions that are equal to each other. So when we see a proportion, we're saying 1/2 equals 6/12. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to, instead of having this 6 up here, we're going to have an x. And we're going to use our proportional reasoning to solve for that x. Proportions allow us to take information and extrapolate it to answer questions. So extrapolate just means take given info, take information that has been given, and use it to find other pieces of info. And you'll see what I mean in the first question. So here are the steps. So we need to first determine what the information is given. Then we want to determine what you're looking for, what you need to solve for. Then you want to set up the fractions, and then you want to solve for the unknown. So let's use those steps to answer this question right here. So Beth can assemble 3 Big Macs in 2 minutes. How many Big Macs can she assemble in a 20-minute period? Well, when I set up for using proportions, I'm going to say one side equals the other side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the ones on top, that's going to be our Big Mac numbers. And on the bottom, what's not going to be on the bottom is going to be time in minutes. So when I look at this right here is a couple of information. 3 Big Macs in 2 minutes. So I'm going to say 3 is on top and 2 is on the bottom. How many Big Macs can she assemble in a 20-minute period? So that means that we've been given the time and we want to figure out how many Big Macs that is equivalent to. So instead of a question mark, mathematicians use X's, but if you prefer to use a question mark, I'm fine with that. And then on the bottom, we know that it's 20 minutes. So then what we're going to do is we are going to use cross multiplication to help us out. So what we need to do is we need to have this on the numerator and then the 2 on the denominator, and that equals x. So if I were to set it up, I would say x equals 3 times 20 divided by 2. And when I punch that into my calculator, I say x equals 30. Now in Essentials Math, every single number means something. We're never just kind of like solving for the sake of solving. So we have to remember that we're going to say it's 30 Big Macs in 20 minutes. Another method that we can use to figure this out is we can figure out how many Big Macs per minute. So if I say 3 Big Macs per 2 minutes, I can say 1.5 Big Mac per minute, per 1 minute. So if I wanted to see how many he could make in 20 minutes, I would just multiply this unit, okay? And this is going to come up later in the unit, okay? We're going to take this and we're going to multiply it by 20, and we're still going to get 30. But this right here is the first one that I identified. This is always going to work, okay? And sometimes the questions that are going to come up in the worksheet are a little bit too, it becomes a little too complicated if you use, if we are going to use cross multiplication, and you'll see those questions that come up. So unit conversion is very important in math, and something to remember here, when we multiply or divide, so whenever we say the word per, we know that we're dividing, so we need to change the units. but when we add or subtract, the units always stay the same. So say you're adding 3 meters to 3 meters. Since you're adding, it's just going to stay the same. It's just going to stay a meter. We're going to say that's 6 meters. But if you're multiplying, say you want to find an area of something, and you say that it is 5 kilometers by 10 kilometers, that's huge. It's going to be 50 kilometers squared. And just like this right here, when you drive 320 kilometers in 3 hours, you're going to divide. You're going to say that it is kilometers per hour, so that's a rate. So if I were to do this one, I would say 320 divided by 3, which is 106.6 repeating kilometers per hour. Another way that we can just practically say that, we can just say it's 106.67. 2 decimal places is great. So last but not least, you can go, example number 3, you can go 110 kilometers for 3 hours, but how far do you go? Now, easy peasy lemon squeezy, if you guys are like, oh, 330 kilometers, because you just multiply it by 3. That's awesome. I want to delve into this example just a little bit more, though, so we can see what your brain is actually doing with the units. So if I were to say 110 kilometers per hour, okay, that's how I'm going to just describe it instead of kind of like a sideways one. 110 kilometers per hour times 3 hours. I want to just look at the number of bits is really easy. So 110 times 3, but what happens to those units? So whenever, just off to the side here, if I say express 3 as a fraction, I'm just going to put it over 1. So if I wanted to express hours as a fraction, I would just put that over 1 as well. So we have this first fraction right here. We're going to say kilometers per, that's division, per hour, times hours over 1. Okay. So what we can do here is we can, since we have in the numerator here we have a h, and in the denominator we also have an h, we can just let those cancel. That becomes a 1 and a 1. So kilometers times 1 is just kilometers, and 1 times 1 is just kilometers. So the number of bits is actually really easy, 330. But kilometers is what spit out. Now you would probably just think in your head that it was kilometers, and you'd be right. But I just want to show you that your brain is actually doing something pretty sophisticated here without you even knowing it.